What's up guys, Xbox Tech Junkie back today with another video. Today we're going to be discussing some of the details and things about the Halo Infinite trailer that we got from the Xbox E3 conference, so let's just jump right in and get right to it. Now unfortunately I don't know how to do all the fun stuff where I play the video while talking yet, just because I'm doing this again off my iPhone, but I'll try to do my best of explaining most of it to you. So the trailer starts off with a Marine who seems to be either asleep or unconscious on a Pelican. He's immediately woken up by the sound of the ship's AI alarm going off, saying warning, warning. And through this, he is fumbling to get some access keys into both sides. After that point, the pressure system goes off in the troop bay of the back of the Pelican. He runs back there to turn off the the pressure. And doing this, it causes him to fall off a crate he was standing on and ultimately losing his little message disc. Now, when he falls, the disc actually starts to play a message recorded by I'm assuming his wife, showing him that his daughter is being able to say new words such as, I love you, miss you, I'm getting big, and being able to sing what sounded like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And through this, you actually see from the beginning of the video, the pilot, as we're calling him, has a short beard and a nice short buzzed cut hair. Probably just to stick with obvious military standards. But throughout the video and after the message ends, you see his beard has actually grown, and so has his hair. And another thing to point out is that the disc has a green circle at the very base of it that, while playing the message, slowly decays to the point where it's red and shuts down. Now, the reason this is important is because it shows that this pilot has not been in the ship for as little time as you may think. He's probably been in the ship for a good 5, 6, maybe even a year. 5 to 6 months to a year. It just depends on how fast his hair grows, but assuming it's like normal hair standards, he's probably been in there for roughly a year. And that's pretty crazy just because now we have no clue as to what timeline this game takes place in. After the message plays, though, is he gets another warning beacon from the ship's AI, but this time it's saying that there is an AI, or not an AR, sorry, a friendly tagged outside of the ship. So the pilot runs to the computer and starts trying to make contact with this friendly. While this is happening, there's a computer screen, a nav computer screen, that also says at the very bottom, reference point Zeta. Now, this is very important to point out is because we do know that, what we've been thinking is that the Halo ring from Halo Infinite's first trailer was Zeta Halo, and this kind of helps prove that point even more, assuming that the entire game will take place on Zeta Halo. The next thing we see is Chief. Now, the pilot wipes away some of the condensation off of the Pelican's front windows, and we see Chief floating in space with debris all around him. And now this is very interesting because we all probably were wondering, why is the Chief just aimlessly in space surrounded by debris? How long he's been out there? But yada yada yada. There's like a lot of questions that I'm asking myself at least. Most people are probably asking them what's happening and how did he end up here. Well, eventually, for unknown reasons, not unknown reasons, we know the reason behind it, but for somehow the pilot was able to drag Chief back into the ship, get him hooked up to the ship's power source, and reboot him. But before he reboots Chief's armor, he does say things like the armor is currently in survival mode, which is a new thing because we've never actually heard of survival mode in Milner armor. We've heard of certain things like armor lock, where the armor will lock up to protect the user, but not survival mode, which is what I'm assuming allows the Chief to survive outside in space for so long. Again, we have no clue as to how long he was out in space. I'm assuming it was more than 90 minutes, which is the standard amount of oxygen left inside of a Milner system that is not surrounded by oxygen in normal environments. Now, another thing I want to talk about is Chief's armor. Now, his armor does look a lot closer to the Halo 3 armor, and it's actually a lot of the armor from many of the Halos combined. I would say it has the color of Combat Evolved, the helmet of Halo 3 mixed with some Halo 4 and 5, and then it has actually most of the chest piece and everything looks more of a Halo Legends, the package still. But the rest of the armor does look very Halo 3 aesthetic, but that's also good because a lot of it seems to take a lot of that bulkiness that Halo 4 and 5 had and apply it to that instead of just like a smooth armor that we are typically used to from 2 and 3, which I kind of like because Halo 2's and 3's armor was really great. I'm just going to refer to Halo 3 because saying 2 and 3 is annoying. 3's armor was really great, but 4 and 5 had a more realistic take on Milner. And so taking those both and combining it does a really good. In my opinion, this armor is probably one of the best armor sets I've ever seen. I mean, a lot of people don't seem to like the color, but I'm a big fan of Mark V armor from Halo 1, and the colors are almost like very close to each other. Not exact copies, but pretty close. So I'm actually a really big fan of it. After the pilot is able to get Chief on board, he does, like I said, plug him into the ship's power source. And he says he uses what power he had left to boot up Chief's armor. And when this happens, actually, though, we see Chief's armor visor boot up, and it actually has a lot of things on the boot up screen that it talks about. For example, we have it say Generation 3 armor. So this kind of confirms one of my videos that I had a while back saying that maybe Master Chief's armor isn't actually an old set of armor laying around. It is in fact a new set of armor. Now, like I said, Generation 3 armor, which was hinted at in the Spartan Field Guide, said that Spartan 3 armor is actually a callback to the original Generation 1 armor in terms of aesthetics and some of the features, but it uses more of the characteristics and and features of Generation 2. So, meaning probably upgraded thrusters, stabilizers, maybe we'll get some new stuff. But yeah, I would say just think about Halo 1 armor, Halo 1, 2, 3 armor, but with Halo 5 features. That's kind of the best way to explain it to people who probably don't seem to understand it. That's as close as I can get. Another interesting thing about the armor is it was created in February 10th of 2559. Now, what we do know about Halo 5 is that it ended in October 28th, or roughly around 28th, probably May 29th, I don't remember the exact date, of 2558. That means it's only been 4 months since the end of Halo 5, and that Chief has gotten this new armor. Well, assuming that he got the armor at that time. It could have just been created and then he got it later, but that's besides the point. What is more interesting is that the armor was modified by Halsey in September 19th, 2561. Now, this is pretty crazy because last year with the E3 reveal trailer of Halo Infinite, we saw in the Pelican that it said March 27th, 2560. No, not March. May 27th, 2560. And so everyone thought, hey, this game's going to take place 2 years after Halo 5. Well, now we're getting another date, seeing as it was September 19th of 2561 when Chief got the armor modified. And that was just when it was modified. So that could have happened a day, 2 days, a month, a year. We don't actually know when this game takes place, just that it's 2561 and up. There are other systems boot up. Some of the Xbox or Game Pass Ultimate codes were actually put inside the video. Most people already got them because they're super quick. So if you're one of the lucky few who got one, congratulations. But there's some other stuff that are popping up, and I'm not going to go through each one of them, but Halo Ken does a pretty good job of explaining it. He does say some of the things, say, like, they're acronyms for, like, ability, run, and then there was, like, some high frequency. I can't remember exactly what he says. If you want to go, I'll leave a link for his video down below. But he does a good job of explaining what most of them mean. And it kind of makes me wonder what it means by abilities. If like Spartan abilities that we got from Halo 5, like Spartan Charge, Thruster, Stabilizers, and Sprint. Or if it's talking about like Spartan abilities like in Halo 3 or Reach. You know, Armor Lock, Global Shields, all that kind of fun stuff. And then it says Run, which means, is Sprint returning in Halo Infinite? We don't know yet. So, finally, after the boot up screen is complete, we kind of get something really cool. We see Chief's armor's entire like system set booted up, and the shield bar loads up, and then it recharges the shields. And what we hear is the original shield boot up, and it's super, super sweet to hear. It's a nice callback to Halo 1. One thing I was a little disappointed to see with the new visor is it kind of gets rid of the interior design of the Mjolnir system. So like in Halo 5, you could see like pieces of each of the armor from the inside as if you were looking out of it. And while that's disappointing, they kind of make up with it for the new UI. It's really clean, really nice. I like the pulsing blue on the lines that are all around the top and bottom. I kind of hope they keep it. They're obviously going to be adding a lot more because eventually we're going to have radars, our gun display, ammo display, grenade display, or grenade count. So they're still going to add a lot into it, but for the most part, I'm really enjoying it. Another nice thing about it is when the visor boots up, it looks like, and actually not looks like, it really is just like a gameplay demonstration. Like, this whole entire trailer is being played in engine of the Slipspace engine. So for anyone who's saying it's cinematic, none of this trailer is cinematic. It is all pure gameplay, or I guess cinematic gameplay, so to speak. It's not being played by a person, but it is what the game will look like when we pick it up and play. Moving on, when the pilot talks to Chief, he actually talks about Chief's arms, not the servos in his arms, not being completely in working order. Chief looks down at his hands, and you know, when I first saw it, I thought it was really weird because he looks super buff. Like his hands are just huge, and the armor pieces are just ginormous on him. And I was thinking that's a little too big, but like the more I think about it, we're playing a really big super soldier. Like there's a picture of the pilot standing next to Chief when Chief was just on lockdown mode, and he barely reached Chief's shoulders. And I gotta remember, like, this game he's gonna be massive, and which is great. I really love the look of his armor, the gloves, and when he looks in his right hand, he opens his hand to show that there is a AI chip. Now this is one from the legendary loot crate, but he has one of these in his hands minus the USB, and you're kind of wondering, holy crap, is that Cortana? And if you can get a close look on it, it does say CTN followed by some numbers. I can't remember the exact numbers which they were, but I believe they were only like one number up from that of the original Cortana service number. So it makes me wonder, like, is this a new Cortana model or what it is? But what's interesting is when Chief puts in the actual data chip. So we get a nice little boot up thing that talks about the AI chip. Now, one thing it says in the trailer is weapon contamination device inserted. Or it's not containment, not contaminated, containment. And then it says AI not detected. Now, this probably means that this chip that not this chip, but the chip he uses in the game isn't a normal AI housing chip that he just slips in and he's connected to. It sounds more like a chip that is used to capture AIs. Obviously, this takes place roughly 3 to 4 years after Halo 5. And so I'm guessing the UNSC or the Swords of St. Helios or whoever's developing these chips have made new AI chips that are used to contain rampant AIs that are gone berserk. And another cool thing about this part is it says continue. And it kind of gives that like vibe that you are able to choose certain things. Like in certain games, when you pause, you're not technically pausing. Like for example, Halo 3 ODST, when you use the map, you're not technically pausing. It's your visor popping up a mini map display where you're able to control it through the visor. And I'm wondering if Halo Infinite's bringing that sort of same gameplay into this, especially with it being a possible semi-RPG game. If you're going to be able to make choices based off of your visor or using a map, or when you insert certain things in your helmet, you get like, options to dig. And so I think that's pretty cool, and I hope to see a little more of it. So after that happens, Chief finally unplugs himself from the ship and proceeds to ask the pilot for a status report. And there's a visible confusion on this pilot, like he has no idea what Chief's talking about. He then proceeds to point Chief over to the front of the Pelican saying, you need to check something out. So finally, Chief takes a walk towards the front of the Pelican. And what we're greeted with is actually quite astonishing. We're greeted at first with just a Halo ring, which got me super excited. But the more zoomed up on the ring, we see one of the main pieces, or not main pieces, but one of the pieces of the ring is completely missing, like destroyed. And when this happens, the pilot says we lost everything, and which is crazy. Like, what do you mean we lost everything? Did we lose the Infinity? Did we lose the Arbiter? What and who did we lose? Like, who was on that piece of the ring when it happened? I'm assuming Chief was one of them, and that's why he's floating in space. But it makes me wonder if like Blue Team was on it, or the Infinity, Lasky, all these main characters that we don't know about right now. None of them are mentioned, just the fact that this pilot says we lost everything. So it makes me really nervous, like, what did we lose? And who did we lose to? Like, what is going on this ring? What next happens is the ship completely gets surged and loses power for a brief moment. And the outside of the Pelican gets like blinded by this white light. And as soon as this happens, the pilot starts freaking out, like saying not them again. And he's like super scared. And it like at first you're thinking, oh, it's probably the created, but like, what if it's not? What if it's this new enemy, or what if it's something crazy? One thing that got me kind of wondering what it was is Star Roads, if I'm saying that right. Now, a lot of people probably don't know what that is. Star Roads are like these weird hard light, I don't know how to explain it perfectly, but they were super crazy weapons used by precursors and then the Flood. because the Flood was, like basically the precursors. And with how like bright the light is outside and everything, I'm wondering if it's the Star Roads attacking the ship. I don't know for sure. It could have just been an EMP by a Guardian and it's just blasting a really big light, but it made me wonder with all the lights that are outside that look super like weird. But when this happens, the pilot tells the Chief that they need to run, and Chief actually grabs an assault rifle, but the rifle looks like an MA-37, which is the exact same assault rifle from Halo Reach, where it is the ammo counter is actually more dislocated from the rest of the assault rifle. What happens next is the pilot closes the door, Chief says get ready, puts the assault rifle on his back, and then he proceeds to jump out the Pelican. And then we're given a nice little da-da-da-da, and then it says Halo Infinite, which is a great little like fill back to like any Halo game with the startup screen. Now, before we get in this, there is one more scene at the end. Now, what we are greeted with is what looks to be a control room shooting some sort of beam up into the sky. And now, typically when a control room shoots like a beam up into the sky, that's never good because it means the ring is activated. But Chief doesn't look concerned because the Master Chief is walking in and he looks at this giant holographic portrayal of the ring, and it shows the collapsing pieces come off. And during this, Cortana is actually talking. And I'm going to play a little bit of just what she says because I can't remember exactly for sure. Hopefully my phone picks this up nicely, but it's very interesting. So I'm going to play that real quick.
I chose you because you were special. I knew we would be perfect together. And I was right.
Now, just in case that didn't go through my audio system really well, she says she chose the Chief because he's so special, because she knew they would be perfect together, and then she ends it with saying she was right. Now, this is very interesting because for me, my personal opinion is she doesn't sound either aggressive or like crazy like she did in Halo 5. She sounds like remorseful and like Halo 3-esque, like she's sorry in a way. But at the same time, she also does sound like a little, what's the word, like maybe something's wrong with her again. I don't know. But while this is all happening, Chief is walking towards the center of this control room, and there's like holograms, and there's like this weird pulsing like blue light with like a bunch of like shapes and geometry that's like floating around it. And Chief is walking towards her and pulls out this chip, and at one point all the holograms in the room just shoot towards that one little location where the pulse is, and then the trailer ends. And so it makes me wonder what is happening. Chris Lee hinted that that's basically a moment of reconnection. And so it had me really wondering, like, reconnecting Chief with Cortana, or what is going on. So that's pretty much it for the trailer. I do want to follow up with some certain things that I want to talk about real quick. The first things first. Chris Lee stated that this entire trailer was actually the opening sequence for the game. And I do have a notebook. That's why I've been looking down a lot. The trailer that we've just been witnessing is the entire opening sequence for the Halo Infinite. So that means when you pick up your copy of Halo Infinite on launch day, you're going to be greeted with this exact same trailer because it's the beginning of the game, which makes a lot of sense with how it starts. Now, for me, I think this is a really Halo Combat Evolve type boot up because it's very mysterious. We don't know what's going on. We're just launched into the story, and then we're launched into battle. So it's a very curious thing. Next thing I want to point out, music. So, unfortunately, Martin O'Donnell will not be reprising his role as the Halo composer, but the new guy, whose name I failed to remember, I'm very sorry, he's had a lot of good history with music. He's worked on Uncharted games and the God of War series, and he's bringing his abilities to Halo Infinite, and from what I could tell, he's going to do really good. Chris Lee said that for this game, they really want to make sure that they're taking pieces from all games, not just Bungie era and 343 era, but like everything, the movies and the games. So it's not going to be just 343's music. It's going to be 343 and Bungie's music combined together. And from this trailer, which he created the music for, it sounds perfect. It sounds amazing. I'm super excited to see what he has more for us when Halo Infinite comes out. Next thing, graphics. Graphics look absolutely amazing. Now, a lot of people will probably disagree with this, But in my opinion, they look really good. The engine looks to be running smooth. Facial features look realistic. Hair looks amazing. And like it's a very good vibe between old and new art styles. And some of the details are amazing. I've seen pictures where the pilot's just simply squeezing the belt on his suit, or not his suit, on the seats, and like you can actually see the belt go from a like smoothish to like a more being squished look. Next things next, Chief's armor. Touched on this a little bit. Bulky, with a little bit of hint of every type of Halo armor. The visor looks absolutely stunning and amazing, and I love the old school shield sound. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my video today. There's just so much with this trailer that even though it's only like a 5-minute trailer, and we probably won't get another story trailer for Halo Infinite until next E3, which is very unfortunate, there's a lot to pick out of here, and eventually we're going to be to the point where we no longer have anything to pick out of it. But I do think 343 is going to be releasing some news for Halo Infinite's multiplayer within the next couple months, because if they want to make sure that they get a lot of good feedback for Halo Infinite like they did with Halo 5, they're going to have to release those flight programs early, like I would say fall of this year. But hopefully they do that very soon. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry I can't show the video and play it. It just doesn't look good if I try to show my computer. I will leave a link to the original video in the description below and Halo Cannon's video so you can watch his recap. He does amazing work. But again, thank you so much for watching. Have a good rest of your day.